Tashi dele tani raja khala yokpa tang de pepa thamala tashi dele yogi tani sanje ka songzi nang na tani tisam ja sanje thamche ka jami sam kale ja ja sa ja samse o ma choba tashi dele.
So Tashi Delek to Tashi Delek to everyone gathered here and everyone gathered online. So I have here in my bowl the Buddha's begging bowl is full of the milk of the bodhicitta of the Buddhas of the 3 times, and so I'm offering this all to you in greeting.
Ngoboso jejedimba tamjejimba de mam sunayo di jang ye de yinjula chantalo takpato chatawe je geveni sone roje jikto tonam chojerba jejer chula chantala tone trola no to labata la rato ke jenga nama gedula chantalo doji janje de la no ta ma ba le pabo to ba jawan rongba ka jula manam so ande 오면 기계 좀 하면서 하여 그냥 같은 죽을 것도 또네 잘라면서로서 안데 먼저가 간다 다다 죽바다 간다데 바다다 대비 강마종 요된 하고 타에 장소나거나 탐보자와 제대 잡선이 어린 치오 시스템 동아진다 초진치 잡초에 보셔 알지라서 생기도 저녀도 다지나 tampa chujina da tarda so tre tro tamjila ta ngadi chubonga kata ningbonga chuare ta ngadi ningbonga res chichi shaba te somebody tre ningbo de na te kachi ko to go yore kachi ko to go mare ningbo de na pena pa jo to cha chi jong ti宁波的我妈的，我妈的在我妈这把都找过的，我妈的宁波可我妈说的，我妈宁波妈的，宁波的多多重重啥说的，哦，这个也这里，永安爱宁波的，七八的，7个宁波的没到的，没到个宁波的让这里的，到南巴山这边的。到这出丢了，他妈掉进这里，是抓他的瓦松，是抓的他的，把这的那不是用的啥嘞？东南部的掉进这吧，抓的开起不的，抓的是什么的呢？你不啊的呢？啥子种的这个，这芒果松呢，这不这种松呢？啥种什么的这是。大概3节的하고 투도 3节的하고 투도 되라고 스탑을 따고 살아야 돼.
So to all my Dharma friends, yesterday I mentioned about the 5-fold Mahamudra, the words that I received from Khenpo Sherabosar, Khenchen Sherabosar, that that it's about the essence. You have to find the 5 essences of the 5 points of Mahamudra. So it's the essences that we're looking at. But it's hard, it's not always immediately clear what the essence might be. So, if we think about, and what is an essence? Well, if you have like 100 cows and you milk them, and then you bring that milk together, and then the milk is like the essence of the cow, but then the essence of the milk is butter. So you extract the essence, you bring it down to something, something that you can wrap your hands around, something that is small enough to fit in your mouth. You can eat the butter. And so then you've gotten the essence from that milk. So the same thing, if we look at the 5 elements that create the physical world, the essence of the 5 elements is rain. The essence of rain are flowers. The essence of the flower is the nectar, the honey. So there's this process of progressively kind of condensing into a concentrated form. And so that's what we need to know how to do with our practice. And this is a kind of special feature of Buddhist philosophy and Buddhist culture, really, Buddhist intellectual tradition, is to be able to bring many, many meanings down to a single point that contains them all. So this is a really precious part of the Buddhist tradition, actually. And so when we think about the 5 essences here of the fivefold Mahamudra, well, again, Lord Buddha taught 84,000 heaps of Dharma. All of those can be condensed down into bodhicitta. So it's learning how to condense things into their essences. That's the key point of the Buddhist path.
Oh, yeah, Chitano, neck up paper, Tato Devani, then David Young native some so the Yindon Bocota, Nga, some will Tamang, Tamang, oh, so jack up the Garchen goes. The Zongo Petini. That's the one that Sentient comes from Sentient Tamje, that's on word. Saji subject. They will Sentient Tamje, Pingo, or something like that. Go your ass. There is Hindu Zombo Chagus.
So there's the 5 essences of the fivefold Mahamudra we can find in the words. It's called the Vajra words of a song by Lord Jigten Sumgun. And so in here, the first essence then is says, put on the armor that guards altruism, or that guards the benefit of others. This is the perfection of the Mahayana mind generation. So when we are cultivating bodhicitta, when we're cultivating bodhicitta, what are we trying to get rid of, actually? We're trying to abandon self-grasping. And what is the method for doing that? The method that gets rid of self-grasping is the altruistic intention, the mind that wishes to benefit others. So when we develop an altruistic attitude, then we are able to benefit both self and others. We develop benefit for ourselves and we accomplish the benefit of others. We bring about benefit in the here and now and kind of temporary terms, and then ultimately we bring about happiness, ultimate happiness for all sentient beings. So the cause of these things is bodhicitta. Otherwise, if you are just constantly stuck in I, me, mine, that grows and grows until it's my country. I have to protect my country. So the opposite of that is that why we identify with things like our country or whatever is because we are taking that as ourself. But that's the wrong way to go about it. Actually, we need to be taking all sentient beings as ourselves. Identifying ourselves with all sentient beings. And so then you can benefit, you can develop this mind, this intention to benefit all sentient beings. And so that's what we're looking for. That's what is needed here. And so that's why it says, put on the armor that safeguards altruism, for the benefit of others.
Drikung Sakchi ngadi ngadi ngawandi changsung 돈 가리 듣고 요리되네 사자치부터 그 요리시 사자치부터 가 요리되네 사자치부터 사제게 하고 요리시 사제 가리 하고는 라게 생분 내력대 하고 요리시 데리들이 말이 밖에 송아리 내력도 못 팔아는 시랍사와 로나메송 시랍을 탈토가다 라게 내력대 또 고리시 라게 내려올 못하게 가야 되네. 나지니지 대리 차당을 놓아 유모버 독기는 대리다 놓아를 독차 처럼도 차송. 단디지 매번 탑라다 이핑을 놓고나 고래시. 이핑을 놓대다 다다 가와도 거는 요래시. 마타 보그니 마 보그니 바로 요래시. 마티가 포거들 삼제 요래 삼제 첨보 요배 뭐 그래서 포거티 도달라 루스토티 좀 로동 같이 동으로 생나요 말이지 근데 짐바랑지 삼제를 요래시 포거티를 같이 이렇게 라고에 돌로 잠보 하자 잠보지 요래시 네 저런 거랑 있잖아 요래시 카라스는 카치고 요래 포거티 마땅한 탐색양을 갈아잡는 로토크요 그랬어. 예를 들면 다다다 막 저런 zuba트나요 그랬어. 들이 적대 고버사와 집탐까지 마땅 소통돼 보고티 도다라 배하고 보고티 로다 돌고 뒤체들이 라고 시주랑 나는 배하도록 보고티 집제기 체대 들다 소크요 그랬어. 소조지래 조주령 따라 요래지 보고지 정나대 사무 요래 들이 아서는 롭다 땅가서 그래서 조주령 따라 요래지 삼띠야 따라 요래지 보고 나나 야 고설로나 센서 보고 삼는 도 요래지 그때 삼띠에 보고 뒤에 때가 때람이 삼띠 요배다 뒤에 요래지 삼띠 요래지 다 시합요 말이지 시랍 가리기 메말 나가 보래지 이 보래 다티야요 말고 시랍 메말이지 사제기 시랍 되리 다 추를 보고 추랑 거 보고 돼 찍고 사람들이나 그래 왜 해죠 추랑 거 보고 돼 다다 보고 돼 저보이는 그래 자원나 저거만 가리 끼야만 보니 보고 같이 추고 자고 차요 그래지 보고 같이 추고 저보이 저래지 가리 때 담주만 뭐 요래 되나 보고도 다닝이 미리지 다닝이 미나 만남 가다냐 버셉진 탐시 샘들이 보고 마지막 제가 요 말했지 코와 토마 매반이들이 따뜻한 롱은나 송월에 배네 밤마마 제가 직접 매배래 다치 제와 되오나 보고들 제와 가려오나데 셉지 탐시를 제와 되올라 다처럼 난지 자와는 매반도 그랬어요 그랬다 보글 삼제 가래오나 대다기 따데리데 바라도 사보랑 이거 참거래 시합지 와서 가래 만남 가당 생기 삼제 밤마마 제바 제가 말했지 대회 다 터가 만남 가당 양배 생기 삼제에서 뒤나바사 제바 때 랍그 요래 그 기분 좀 있어 보통 소유 동안 되래 잠벌을 저럭 막나야 되니 저럭 탐색에 삼제들 체 요래 나바 사제에 삼제를 체배 바래 체배 배다 이 나바가 저럭 때서 야가를 해서 기본이 비부터 워싱턴이 가지고 나도 대성도 고소한데
So the fivefold Mahamudra, this Drikung Kagyu teaching called fivefold Mahamudra, what's the purpose of it? What do we get out of it? Well, what it's teaching us is that if all 5 of the points are accounted for, if we have all 5 of these points, then what do we get? We realize Mahamudra. So that's the goal, realizing Mahamudra. Now, in terms of realizing Mahamudra, who has realized Mahamudra? Well, the Buddhas. The Buddha understands Mahamudra. And how is it that the Buddha understands Mahamudra? Because the Buddha has been able to realize the natural state of his own mind. So it's about realizing the natural state of your own mind. So Milarepa has a song where he says that there is no perfection of wisdom beyond the realization of the natural state. On the far side of the realization of natural state is the perfection of wisdom. So the natural state, you have to realize your natural state for yourself, the natural state of your mind. This is something you have to do for yourself. And so what is it that prevents us from realizing this? It's our self-grasping and our dualistic grasping at self. So it's because of that we are not able to recognize Mahamudra, and that we take the form of, any of the 6 classes of beings, and we freeze into ice. And so we have to know how to destroy this self-grasping, how to get rid of it. And the only way to do that is the mind of benefiting others, the attitude, the intention to benefit others, altruistic mind. So now where is this altruistic mind? How can we get it? So we are right now in samsara. And in samsara, where we can start to see this is in the love that a mother has for her child. So we see the great amount of loving kindness that mothers have for their children. And all of the work that they do to take care of those children and to pursue the benefit of those children without any stinginess or resentment. And so in this, we see that lack of stinginess, lack of resentment, that mother is willing to pay whatever it takes, do whatever it takes. That is the nature of generosity. That is it comes out of the loving kindness. So loving kindness is by nature generosity, has generosity with it. Then we also see the strictness and the honesty with which the mother approaches her child, maybe the integrity with which the mother approaches her child, and that is ethical discipline. Again, this another nature of loving kindness. And we see when the child is eating, all the time involved in feeding the child and all of the, messiness that's involved in feeding the child, that is patience. And we see the mother pursuing worldly activities because she's worried about how to pay for her child's food, how to send her child to a good school. That is diligence. All of this accumulation of wealth and resources for the child's benefits. And then we see also the attention given to the child. So, even if the child stays at home, the mother goes out in the world, her mind is always tethered to home, thinking, what's going on back at home? What is my child up to? So her mind is always with her child. That is concentration. And so another, that again, we see loving kindness with the nature of concentration. So we see these 5 perfections in the relationship between mother and child, but what we do not see is wisdom. Why? Because there's no wisdom there, because it's my child. The mother says, this is my child, and she does all these things for her child, but she doesn't do them for other people's children. She doesn't have that level of loving kindness for other people's children. So that indicates that the wisdom is missing. And so now a Buddha will have that same amount of love for all sentient beings. So, if you ask the Buddha, is it okay if I just have this love for my child? The Buddha is going to say that's not okay, because we have to have that same love and care and concern that we show for our children, we have to show to all sentient beings. Furthermore, the Buddha taught that, we don't really know who our children are, who they've been in a previous lifetime. There are many stories about where we learn about the previous lifetimes of parents and their children. And in some cases, they were enemies in previous lifetimes. In some cases, they were friends. So our children are both enemies and kin. They are loved ones and enemies in previous lifetimes. And that's why we say all mother sentient beings who fill space. We say, mother sentient beings means that there's not a single sentient being who has not been our child in the past. Just as there's not a single sentient being who has not been our mother in the past. And so, again, we don't, from the very beginningless beginning of samsara up until now, every single being has been our parent. And so we can have the love that a parent has for their child, that a child has for the parent. We can have that love for all sentient beings. And when you develop that love towards all sentient beings, you uproot self-grasping. You destroy it at its root. So we can see, from there, the development of the 6 perfections. When we develop loving kindness for all sentient beings, we are practicing the 6 perfections. Where does the wisdom come in? Why is the perfection of wisdom part of that? Because we say all sentient beings, all mother sentient beings equal to space. So when we see that all sentient beings have been our parents in the past, and we say all mother sentient beings equal to space, that is a real special point of the Buddha Dharma, of the Buddhist tradition. That you can take the love that you have for your child and then extend that to all sentient beings. And so when Khenpo Jigme Phuntsok at one point reportedly said that, we see the loving kindness that is taught by all the religious traditions in the world, but it is limited loving kindness. And the loving kindness taught by Buddhism is unlimited. And so this is what Khenpo Jigme Phuntsok taught in Washington previously.
단지는 유모와 손대는 도와를 독차서 그래서 독습지 탐지 파마마 대와 제자매마 우리 손들이 로로를 작으려래 그 대외들 잡로 만남 가다 옆에 샘지 탑지에 되는 도구 샘지 탑지 람즈 탑매발마도 참아를 빈 토던나 이게 빈 아주 로드 연구요래 될 때지 오래
Right, so we say all kinds of things about bodhicitta and compassion. You hear all kinds of things said about it, but what is the actual meaning? What's the actual point here? It's that we have to develop compassion in our mind. So there's a story told about Dzogchen Patrul Rinpoche, that he, Patrul Rinpoche, used to tell people, please stop eating meat. You have to stop killing animals, stop eating meat. Try to lessen the amount of meat, cut down on your meat. And then he would ask people, do you feel the compassion for the animals? So one day he actually went to a place where they were slaughtering animals. And he said, do you feel compassion for the animals? And the people said, yes, we do feel compassion. And we recognize their suffering. And then he said, so are you going to kill them? Are you able to kill them? They said, well, yeah, because we need to eat meat. So that's the catch, right? But what do you do about this? Patrul Rinpoche said you need to meditate. If you meditate, you cultivate, you habituate this attitude, then that's how you can get to a place where you can actually benefit beings. So you, for instance, you look at in your mind, and he told the people there that you should, you see, there are all these animals waiting to be slaughtered. There, yaks, sheep, goats, and so forth. You see the animal with its animal body, but then you visualize that its head now is your mother. Its head is your child. Its head are these, loved ones close to you. And then when you do that, then he asked them, can you kill the animal now? And of course, everyone was horrified. No, of course we can't kill an animal that looks like my mother. So it's through meditation that we develop the feeling, that we really feel it. And so it's through meditation that we have to develop this love for all sentient beings, and so when we, so we can look at the beings whose lives we want to take for our food. We can look at them as our mothers, as our children, and have that example of the love that a mother has for her child. You can see. And so then if you're seeing a yak with your father's head on it, you feel, and then you realize that yak has been your father. It's much easier to forego eating that meat. Now, there's a story about a great Siddha who was at one point encountered someone who was sitting there with a child on his lap, eating some meat. So it turns out that the meat he was eating came from a yak that had been his father in a previous lifetime. So he was sitting there eating his father's meat. And then he had this, adversary, like kind of enemy from his previous lifetime who he had owed a lot of money to. And they had a, not so pleasant relationship. And so that person had taken rebirth as his child. So now he's sitting, holding this child on his lap, holding his creditor on his lap, eating his father's meat, and then throwing the bones to a dog, which was the rebirth of his mother from his previous lifetime. So he's throwing the bones to his mother, and his mother is now eating her husband's bones. And so the Siddha had this vision of all these karmic relationships underlying the scene that he was seeing, and he just thought, well, this is samsara, right? This is, and that's our relationship. With all the beings that we encounter, we don't know what our relationship was in a previous lifetime. And that's why it's so important to, uphold karma and cause and effect and extend our love. Consider that every being that you encounter, have the attitude that your relationship is like the relationship between mother and child. And so when you can do that, then all the beings in the 6 realms, the 6 types of beings, the 6 types of embodiment can be that we are able to purify self-grasping for all those beings. It's from our afflictive emotions that the 6 realms arise, And so, on the other hand, if we look at the beings of the 6 realms and we realize that each and every one of these, not a single one has not been my parent in the past, then that can allow you to just kind of relax about your interactions with other beings, and you can see, all mother sentient beings who are as boundless as space. I want to help all mother sentient beings. And so you get to the point where you realize you don't have the means to benefit all sentient beings right now. But if you did, wouldn't it be wonderful? So it's about generating the mindset of, if I could, benefit them, that's what I want to do.
니바라 다들이 딱 도와를 두둥이 참아 통이 다까지 동이고는 융바 차로 요래 뒤정을 말이 도와를 두대 주막다고 하고 고래지 주막다고 하고 고는 가래지 나시 락걸 고와르지 상하제는 보통 다 상하냠네 제고래지 상하냠네 제 나시 락걸 고와르지 되는 다다 도와를 동안 통한데 소속의 유를 유무만 나지 유무 독지 잡아요 배 뒤집어서 마세요 버터 동네대로 연구요래 도와를 동대 축항답을 해야지 락버들 이 성도들이 또 차체도 센나 세당 떠복성 것들이 잡아 척과 탐시들이 이 성도가 나와 자꾸 요래지 대를 세토를 줄을 잘 사촉체인데 제트는 다요 말이 다면은 이 성수를 요 말이지 오 대사면 민강적으로 축강적으로 그래야지 샘대식 정보 공간 깨와요 샤요 말이지 참체를 대식 정보 요래지 대나들이 사촉체면이지는 다만 사다 거리신 감나 답을라이 로주도 거는 전도 요래 송들이 나시 라걸 고와지 상하 제는 보담소시.
So now the next point is that, all sentient beings in the 6 realms are experiencing different forms of suffering, right? So then there are some who, when they see this suffering, are so overwhelmed by, have such grief looking at the suffering experienced by sentient beings. And so the way to avoid getting bogged down in grief like that is to understand that this suffering and the beings in their suffering are illusory. It's like an illusion. So the next point is to know that appearance and existence are the body of the deity. So this is the perfection of the creation stage of secret mantra practice. So again, the kind of antidote to this pitfall is the practice of secret mantra. That when you see the suffering that beings are experiencing, you realize that this suffering arises from the afflictive emotions. So the 5 or 6 afflictive emotions. And these are obscurations, these are stains that until they are cleansed away, until they are purified, we will experience suffering. So for what we need is to send all sentient beings, through the bathhouse. They need to clean away their these stains, these obscurations. So when we look at ignorance, desire, hatred, miserliness, jealousy, arrogance, and so forth, these stains are what produce the lower realms. So we have the 3 lower realms that arise out of these afflictive emotions. That's true. But when your mind can realize the Mahamudra, what happens is you no longer have a self. And so when you no longer have a self, then you no longer have the experience of the 3 lower realms. So this becomes like the hospital that we are sending all sentient beings to, or the bathhouse where they're all getting, a good scrubbing. And so all sentient beings have the Buddha nature within their mind. And so because of that Buddha nature does not die, and it is not born, it does not arise, it does not pass away. All sentient beings have this Buddha nature. But it is through the practice of bodhicitta and through practicing that we are able to transform it or like reveal it to be the Sambhogakaya and the Buddhas of the different Pure Lands. So that's why the next point says to know that appearance and existence are the body of the deity.
Trizate lakor koala takari taso lanyamnejila tabo japsun joati o tasajile japsun jo o te gigine sajile maptin chudapsi mare te sajile kalani ta lejum de sanchoksem jule kila sanchoksem jule kila belin chagokte shole jamti challenger chole langbade de tela soba zamale yongti sabje chole yongore sempre un tinte molto certo poi dire nazi la qualcosa che te no di sentient nga casa che le chayana sentient nga che te yare shatar basa cha cho wo long tu me sen nam kha ti nga pe nan se sagang chimo de te ra ni te yare 총총소 차와절을 대등 총총절을 대 타마 참여요래 대 메이송들이 세종왕한테 영광을 함지래 나 뉴몽 신지주는 뉴모왕아 뉴모바데 이실메이송아 이실메이다 사자집에 따와 하고서 다디의 파트너가 비사족선 다시 대공바지 대공군을 가래 들다 예담절 라데 공군을 예담걸 라데 차공대 저서라 철저리야 요래 되지 요지 실례데 하이 요지 딱보신 강탐제 용지 하고 요래 대하 호송을 다데 가래 쇼고도 세부 차공도 쇼고로들이 또 설합을 때 이거래 설합이 봐도 가래들이 다다 다 당이 고독 덴바 세비바 이제 줄을 째나 그 돈담고 데마들이 다른 라마를 떼인 거고요. 들이다가 너 유명한 강인성나 들이 라고 세부 사자집인 대로 또 그래 라마를 떼인 거래. 이게 답절 하고 봐들라. 이게 답은 이거 떼인 답이 다 째는다 그다. 이 인소리나 이제 다 째는 답이 다 들어봐도 지대 망도 쉬어래. 들이다 이게 답 라마 공부하대. 라마를 떼인 애들이 다 짜와가지고 나중에 있으면 하고 타고요. 대외들이 다 담절 라이 사람들거나 달라만 공고래. 라만 공나들이 다다 나한테 하고 이제 접대 용어냐. 대하 마오나 들이 살아서 도도 철철 다다 다다래 사람들이 동물이 그때 랑지 무엇보다 더야 요라야 다쪽을 또 봐요. 제 탐지 제 그런 게 선우 직대 남지 생제 탐지 마르바래 도담의 대방을 그것도 도저히는 접박어서 죽을 놓고 죽어서 저래 이제 이제 감 르다 탐지 탐 죽고 공성적으로 这的那个同意我，他都同意没完的。这种哈过过，这他那么去过过这种，也当的那么的手这些的，也当的用这些改一个哈过过的呢，这他也当过的节目，他这他妈送这里也当，他这大瓜大人的是吧？哈过成了，这也当的，我也得当了这个，他也是没必须多过的，必须多这里那么定过的。那么去过过去，你们没不算错说。
So again, we have to understand that all appearance and existence are the deity's body. And so how do we do that then? Well, we have to meditate. We have to practice the deity. So we practice creation stage meditation. So in order to do this, though, we have to rely upon a teacher. You know, there's no one who's reached Buddhahood without relying upon a teacher. And so in the same way, you know, we have to rely upon a teacher. And so from that teacher, then we learn about karma and cause and effect, and we learn about bodhicitta. You know, and we have this, that we realize that this bodhicitta is present within our mind stream, and when we, you know, and through that the ice can melt into water. And so we likewise we learn all about the qualities of that all the positive qualities of the world come from the water. They all arise out of the water. So we learn about these qualities, and we want to learn how they come about. And so for example, the body of you know, any given individual is composed of the 5 elements, right? So for instance, the flesh is earth, and blood is water, and the heat is fire, and breath is wind, and we also have space. So the spaces in our body are space. So now, no matter how small a being we are looking at, no matter how tiny that being's body is, it is also composed of these 5 elements. So all sentient beings with physical bodies have all 5 of these elements. So now that's on the outer aspect. On the inwardly, these 5 elements appear as the 5 afflictive emotions. And so now, how do we transform these into the deity? It's through ripening the 5 afflictive emotions into primordial wisdom that we are able to realize the view of Mahamudra, that we are able to abandon self-grasping. And so it's through, the way that we do this is to meditate upon the body of the deity, and cultivate ourselves as in the form of the deity. And it's through that practice that the ice then melts into water, and that all of the qualities of the deity, all of the qualities of the Pure Lands then start to manifest. We have to know these qualities and know how to bring them about. So again, our mind is like a frozen ball of ice, and in order to melt it into water, what do we need? We need blessings. And where do the blessings come from? So if we want to if we want to actualize this understanding of conventional reality and into ultimate ultimate truth, it's through the blessings of the Lama that process happens. And so whatever pith instructions we receive on sutras or tantras, whatever practice we're doing, if we want to realize Mahamudra, it's through the Lama that happens. So, first we visualize ourselves in the form of the Yidam deity, many of you have heard a lot of teachings about that, and then you can, we all go to our Lama to receive instructions on how to meditate on ourselves as the deity's form. But then it's through the blessings from the Lama, so through cultivating devotion towards the Lama, that it actually happens. We have to understand how to cultivate devotion and meditate upon the Lama. And if we can't do that, then earth is earth, rocks are rocks, water is water. It's through the pith instructions from the Guru that we understand the actual nature of these what look like material phenomena, and that we can recognize that ultimately we can see the emptiness in these material objects, that they are, by nature empty, and that they are by nature composite phenomena, that they lack any inherent reality. And when we see that, that's called the Nirmanakaya, the emanation body. So there are three bodies of Buddhas that we often talk about: the Nirmanakaya, the Sambhogakaya, and the Dharmakaya, the emanation body. The first one, the emanation body, what is this talking about? Well, the word emanation, is talking about that right now we may see various appearances, but ultimately they are empty. And so they lack this inherent reality. When we see that, then those appearances become like the Sambhogakaya body, the enjoyment body. And then finally, we see the Guru, the Lama, as the Sambhogakaya. So that is the Lama is inseparable. We have to see the Lama as inseparable from the Lama who is the Dharmakaya. Then is inseparable from these Sambhogakaya phenomena of the Sambhogakaya of the Yidam deity. That's when you finally start to understand creation stage meditation. That's when you develop the creation stage meditation, meditating upon yourself as the deity's body, and then it's through primordial wisdom that you, through the Lama's blessing, that you can realize the primordial wisdom. And so the next point in the fivefold Mahamudra is to know the Lama as the Dharmakaya. So this is the perfection of non-dual devotion. So again, we know the Lama to be the Dharmakaya, to be the Dharma body of the Buddha.
Juri Chokorto Lude Carrere, Rache, Tiamo Le Carre, Sada Dora to Socilude, Leda Sunam Tale, Tata Lude Sunam Tale, he Sunam whatever is Tata, Zani Matato Tamjira, Leda Sunam Watokatari, there was a Dongetati, Dimri Chavatari, younger Yore, Lude Traviatari, Juri Chokorto was in your lot, lower red, Chainam Charona, you read. So long, got a dog was the Lord. On the same devote, that Zodi Horich. Kani, Kadu Hako, so Nico, Malam Gabitri, Malam Yankarnagi, Yankaga Baksha, Jezero Letri, Talika Jay, they were the Dungi Toa and Jinang, they don't tell Tama, Malamoni, Yongo Yore Tama. They didn't, Yami, she's oh. Ninkata Malamni Chegres Kari Malam Nipari Che Bina Goba Long the Jepai so Malam Tak Ninkari Chepa Sawan Yormari Le Pacha de Dogo Chuan Yonote Chipa Chichang Res Tatatali Lali Tawata Mother Shatari Yormari Te Lokta Lali Tawati Tatabogata She be the dog, your mother. She be the dog. Ni cooked the your marat. Over Ni Malam and Tata Leka. So too long with it. Malam did it, the Jumble. Jumali Tiri, Longo de la Ta, Jatsutabi, Jatsutabi, Joy, Tipe Carre de la Terem, Munji the Javang the Chimpato, the Dromakaman Nang, Nang the Silco, Malamori, 3 Tapasakam, Dromaki, Shafta, if ye non shorty, doesn't they? If ye non choke with up a top song, but some song to your dinner, that lama would tap the yore. They jetted it, rather Tavam than ya, cheat and napsity, the Tidum Trubaka, cheat a song there. The Tidum Trubadi, she ate the chicken will deva yore. There is napsito that nidi or daji idiope. There is napsican go to the receipt of Hong Nabachi. There is actually that Gypsy room, Malamagari, Gypsy to Martin, Caroma subject, not tea songs. There is a question on the crossing. There is a common talk song. You did it. Rather, Zar, woman, remains dark color, region, they cut off 3 days. They ship a dama, Musi Yone. They usually Rally Javit Porter says Sagang Chimbota, Nagar Ludi, so that took by Chick Johnson, Zamoto, Monasona, dirt chick, the knee Saji down there, the tree Chong Chong chicken cemetery, Chatao Chagay or Pele, or this of the Saji, the teacher tongue, don't buy you, don't buy you, check your edge. Better send no money and Namkata, Namkata Chera, Tomchi Chong Tapoli. 총은 남과도 세고 내려오더니 세 다니니 매번 생동바 또 대도로 사자체 버려서 대회를 대다고 도저히 물람을 때리더니 저리라 라고면 대 자요래지.
So with the guru then we kind of in our so we're trying to it says we're trying to see the Lama as the Dharmakaya, right? But we can start by seeing the Lama as the Sambhogakaya, that we see that whatever activities that the guru is involved in, whatever merit and so forth, that all of this, whatever benefit and happiness that the guru's activities are bringing about, all of these we realize to be the Nirmanakaya. And that we can see that sort of like we have this ocean of water with little pieces of ice floating in it, and that ice can melt into the water. Then, I'm sorry. This is an explanation from the Lama Chopa practice when we take the empowerments. Where when we take the empowerments at the end of the practice, we say, "Bless me that I recognize my mind stream to be the Nirmanakaya." So when we're praying for that blessing, and we're taking the empowerments from the guru, right? So then, bless me that I recognize my mind to be the Nirmanakaya. And so then, again, all these, the karmic actions that you're engaged in and the merit that you're accumulating and all of the happiness that you're trying to bring to others, you recognize all of that is arising, out of your mind stream. You're trying to realize your mind stream as the Nirmanakaya. And so again, from moment by moment, maybe you are like a little chunk of ice floating in the ocean. Okay, thanks. Yeah, right. Okay, and so then the second request is grant me your blessings that I might realize the life force energies to be the Sambhogakaya. So now your life force energies, so this is talking about the Sambhogakaya. And this is talking about, for instance, at night when you go to sleep and you dream, you see various dreams that are, kind of the habitual imprints of waking life. And so when we realize our life force energies to be the Sambhogakaya, then we realize the equality of dreaming existence and waking existence, that both of these are arising out of habitual imprints of our karmic actions. And so then, just like you don't have, when in a dream you can have fear, but when you wake up, you realize there's no need for the fear. In the same way, you can start to practice during the day and in the dreams. You can see the kind of equality or the sameness of waking experiences and dream experiences. So then we practice the creation stage meditation in order to purify our karma and our habitual imprints from that karma, in order to kind of develop our identification with the body of the deity, that we can clear away the kind of delusion that is blocking us from seeing that. So these days there are many proponents out there who say that when you die, the being ends. Well, this is a view of based in ignorance, and because if you died, if you ceased to exist when you died, then what would, why do you not cease to exist when you fall asleep? If it's about the continuity of consciousness, when you fall asleep, you should also cease to exist. But instead, we have this phenomena of dreams, and then similarly, we have what's known as the illusory body. So at the time of death, you may lose your physical body, but you continue in this illusory body. And so the Sambhogakaya is similar. It is the same thing. It is composed, it's a body composed of rainbow light. So there's a story about Gyalwang Rinchen Phuntsok, who was once doing a retreat on White Tara. And so in the course of his retreat, he had a dream where he arrived in the Pure Land and was given a text, one of his pure vision texts from Tara, and that Tara, in the form of a seed syllable, entered his central channel and proceeded up. That seed syllable was proceeding up through his central channel, rising up, and as he did so, Tara then was in the form of like a primordial wisdom seed syllable, and as this is going up, he as the syllable reached the different chakras, he would have these visions of different Pure Lands and receive teachings from the Dakinis. And he received so many pith instructions through this experience of the seed syllable rising up through his central channel. So this is the, this is an example of the Sambhogakaya kind of phenomena. Now, the Buddhas, all the Buddhas of the three times, have realized the phenomena. Have realized the emptiness of these phenomena. So that's what makes them different from us. It's when you look at space, anything can fit in space. Space has an infinite capacity to hold things. And so when you realize the natural state of your mind, that is the same. You are realizing Mahamudra, and then there is no longer a difference between dreams and waking. And so that's when you have become the deity.
Jadi 속도도 이제 고하고 요래 소제를 드리라고 샘지 또르들 롱샘이라 그래 롱샘이 고들 롱디는다 샘코는 남과다 그래 요비 딱 제자리 탈에 딱제 탈인데 봐 옛날에는 롱들 레롱도 이시가 롱이 요래 레롱 기바데다다 변나 샘들 납도 샤로나 납도 지셔 라왕 메바 납도 디제티 뉴모 보지서 나네 들이 내가 먹게 와치는 속았다 들이 가르사는데 디지리 소리로 때 레롱라고 요래 이시 롱시바데 오 다들 양이 시리나 드시 봐요를 들이 납도 가서 짓을 잡게요 말에 짓을 만나는 들이디 이시가 롱 남기는 들이 답은 나와 자장 자요 요래 들이 레롱도 짓을 돌아 뉴모 봐라서 그러라서 들이 딴 말하는 들이 라면다 다 자자디 셔다들이 납시들 살았던 레롱지노 냠다 제도 레롱이 짓을 양선들이 로아를 빡차가를 뒤들이 혼도를 대응고 고체대 들이다 라데 이제 사 촉세고 이제 제래 들이 제비를 사 촉세고 이제 제래 나들 매는 좀 버터가만 세비를 팽고 서로 대체고 보는 그 제비랑 이게 상화 차들이 뉴노바 매바 뉴노바 톡도 매바 차들이 뒤롱들 들이다다 다지도 아들 루드도 뒤로 루드시나 마치리지 다지리도 걸었다 띵하다지 이제 양양들이 변사리 말랑고이나다 바도나들이 지리도 동바데 사지 동바도 뒤에서는 사지 생뒤도 동바마디 뒤에서는 남장디 차차들 매반도 그래 변들이 저기 때문에 되나 저기는 홀로데 다 홀로데 빠져요 체드사와 장이 삼아 대플라이 샤려버리 그리고 플라이 샤도 사오는 돈이 샤르라고 세부랑 어떻게 하나 샤고요래 대하고들이 제비에 로로 들이다 셉지를 팽받아 내가 그 답보시 가고 나와 차려고요래 들이 단지의 롱디에는 네 납시 짓을 레롱이 짓을 나오더니 당연히 잘한 거리 들 바돌이 타바토들이 다 보아 잘 팽봐야 돼 사촉 세군은 납시대 아세요래 오야 납시대 롱디 다 쳐는 다만 오만로는 통적고요래 들 더블로는 저쪽과 자도 빼대는 박차를 지금 말아와서 박차를 장부 박차다 내배 박차니요래 장부 박차 산적 세고 박차래 제일 좋아들이 내가 거다 시작하는 좀 다 치고로 상제를 말씀송 야 죽을라고 죽었으면 좀 따와라도 저 상제를 죽을 상제해서 야 따와 된다지 놓고 상제해 들이 따와 상적 찍고 요나요 저거로 상제들 토린들 설명을 뛰어리 라도 매일 뛰니 저거요래 데레들이 줄이시 봐야지 가르는 결정 좋을때 줄이 저거로 또 벌써지로 sonde 저거 가르나 데레 저거요래 저게 라왕 요래 그래가라마 더
So this term, the life force energies, this is a rather difficult term, but the life force is talking about the mind, and then the energies referring to the winds. So really, we're talking here about the winds and the mind and the winds, and there are. So the mind is like space, and so because it's like space, there is nothing that we can examine. It is beyond the limit of examination. And now the winds, there are two kinds of winds. There's karmic wind and wisdom wind. So when we have conceptual thoughts that arise in the mind that we can't control, they arise in spite of our autonomy. We don't control them. Those conceptual thoughts, that is due to the karmic wind. That's the movement of the karmic wind. Now, the primordial wisdom wind, and that is what moves us towards understanding the natural state, and to mindfulness, alertness, and conscientiousness. And so when we follow those impulses, then when we run after that, that is primordial wisdom. So that's the wisdom wind. And that leads to pure perceptions. On the other hand, when we act out of our, out of afflictive emotions, then we end up in the then we are following the karmic wind. And so we want to understand how to block that karmic wind, how to not lose ourselves into running after it. And so how do we block that? So we start by meditating on the deity and understanding that the basis of the deity is bodhicitta. That the deity is free from self-grasping, free from the 6 afflictive emotions. And so as we cultivate, as we habituate that, as we meditate upon this, then eventually we reach a state where, reach a point where you see your body as Chenresig. When you look at your body, you see Chenresig. That's when you have, realized the body of the deity. So this is similar to the experiences in dreams and experiences in the bardo, the intermediate state between lifetimes, where we want to be able to, if we see the deity, we want to be able to recognize the deity. And then also identify with that ourselves. So, for example, you can watch things on TV, you can see all kinds of amazing things on TV, and you think, oh, that's happening over there. And then your mind is just immediately like swept away by what you see. But so rather, it's not over there. It's you are looking. You are developing these qualities within yourself, and then you can experience the pure realms. The pure realms will shine forth in front of you, all around you, and so that is when you are following after the wisdom wind. So the karmic wind of the afflictive emotions, on the other hand. Then the karmic wind of the afflictive emotions, on the other hand, will interfere with this. So it's like, if you have some water and you put milk into it, then, the karmic wind of the afflictive emotions interferes with this in that, in the bardo, in the intermediate state, if the karmic wind of arises, then if you run after it, it leads to a negative rebirth. And so that's why practices like POA can help this, try to bring us back to the wisdom wind. But it's basically like if you have water and you put milk in it, you can still drink it. But if you put poison in it, you can't drink it. So there are these habitual imprints that color. There are both good habitual imprints and bad habitual imprints. And all of the good habitual imprints stem from bodhicitta. So the good habitual imprints are the ones that bring about temporary well-being and experience of the Pure Lands, and ultimately the state of Buddhahood. And of course, the state of Buddhahood is explained as having 3 levels: the 3 kayas, the Nirmanakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Dharmakaya. And so ultimately, if you have the highest level of view, then you realize the Dharmakaya. If you have the medium level of view, then you realize the Sambhogakaya. If you have only an understanding of bodhicitta, then you realize the Nirmanakaya. And so it's about having this, developing this illusory body that is actually able to change instantaneously. It's manipulatable, sort of. And so you can manipulate it, you can turn it, you can use that process of manipulation to turn it immediately into the Nirmanakaya. That is called gaining autonomy or gaining independence over your awareness.
Lama nyamni chena, yedam nyamni chena, karidora, yina dambati sachi moyori, yina dambati chakchawa, chupan baga, dekpa shakpa kivala jise yarama, yina dambati kiche moyori, ti toda de chena tiri, kare nyamni chena, ti yina dende kare chena tiri, nyumba chokdi thola tiri, ta gita dandi ji yibora mo yina chi. Geta da ngecheta ngajargana shotore geta dandi ni bote geta chebo ju dabna yang tele ngayen zuba nge dabson sana tele na charse cheka dia thola chebo do yore thama thola do yo ma de te to thola do de tama ma cha yo gore dewe ne tele yang de dosi batter mo ji song yore le 아제티 또복터제와 제보요래 직지속고 양대성을 제거 민정 조량 제걸 쇼시 잡지 민정 조량 예제죠 다티 줄래가 야복가 제지는 내제 살는데 나제티 돌아도 그다 돌아도 너는 제라제 이게 요래 제근에서 나데 간지들에 Nganjin Revo Cheso, Dadi Rati, Sanga Ketri, Tokariang, Java the Yore Kare, Dadi Rati, Karikajur, Satu with Jagayore, Dadi Rotike, the Jun Jaza, the Dandi and Benetri, Die on the January, 3 Nidi Sarata, same with the same Koran Dexik Nimbo, Yena Yang, the Sajet of the Nimbo. The harbor, the iron to body, that ye need it, Nidite, and ye, you take into your kitchen for your rest.
So now when we are practicing the deity, we have to accumulate the accumulations. So in particular, we're accumulating merit. How do we understand this? What is the actual meaning behind accumulating merit, or how does it work? So as we are practicing upon the path, then whatever you're practicing, actually, whether you're practicing on the Lama, or whether you're practicing on the Yidam deity, the 7-branch prayer is very important. So these 7 branches of taking refuge, confessing misdeeds, rejoicing in the merit of others, and so forth. These 7 branches are very important because they kind of counteract these 6 afflictive emotions and self-grasping. And that's the real benefit of them. So this thought of that the accumulation of virtue is actually the antidote to arrogance. So the accumulation of virtue is the antidote to self-grasping. So it gets rid of the arrogance of the virtuous deeds are the antidote to self-grasping. So now, on the other hand, these virtuous deeds that we accumulate can be easily destroyed by self-grasping, by the afflictive emotions. So Patrul Rinpoche said that arrogance has a strong connection with ignorance or with delusion, or stupidity maybe. So arrogance has a strong connection with stupidity. And then Lord Jigten Sungön explained that whatever activities you are doing, the problem is when you think, I have done this, I have done that. So even if you're doing like virtuous deeds, I have done this, that arrogance destroys the virtue the merit that you may have accumulated. And so according to Lord Jigten Sungön, like the difference between a demon or some kind of negative spirit and a deity is that presence or absence of I, the thought of this, a demon is someone whose I did this, is caught up in the grasping at I and ego grasping, where a deity is not. So in secret mantra practice, then we sometimes talk about the enemies, and we are applying, different techniques to overcome the enemies. But the enemies are self-grasping. That's what enemy means in secret mantra. It's the self-grasping. And how do we get rid of self-grasping, or i.e. the enemies? We get rid of it. It's bodhicitta that removes self-grasping. So self-grasping is the root of 100 problems. Self-grasping leads, first of all, when there's a self and you grasp at the reality of that self, then there automatically is an other. So we all have Buddha nature. We all have the essence of all the Buddhas within us. But we say, this is me. I'm the one that has it. And so we automatically fall into this dualistic grasping of self and other. And so it's very important that we are able to recognize that tendency towards dualistic grasping.
Yili takwa yili pongkang jimchi tamshi ta nga sarwa nyamni chi na pongkang jimchi de song pongkang jimchi takwa la yili cha de yo na neka lobo ma da ba de ta yung ba tok de yang tok wa so yo le ge wa ta me chi ji ti kang je na de ge je ge de nga jar de patro ba ji song ta ba ni ba so mi yo le de na yi ge cho mo yo le ka le o rangi yung di ma da de ni ji zhong ma da chi di ji bu de san ma da ma rangi yung di da ma tang ji le da zhuo bo ni yo na o ji ge san ma da da jie ge rangi le ga o nge le ga ji bei xia ta ma nge so ma tang ta ma nge da bo jia ho yo sa ji ge nang ge le ga ta ma nge so yo sa de de ga ja che de ga ji che so na de chu wa yong ge le de o de ne de o用一用地大个么，一种嘛的，一用地大的，那个有地大大家吃着嘞，一种大，哦，做的种嘛，我种的呢，种大的的，做的嘞大，可说嘞这个嘞，这是切说就咱们推吧这个嘞，一种嘛的，那个用地嘛的是，哦，他这个也咱们说，一用地种的用地的大个嘞。用地的大的了，这瓦堂，先过嘛，对吧？先过嘛，三这瓦这个嘞，人家用地大过来，哪个种大过来的？我说这些了的，俺姐的呢，俺姐这个，那个用地讲大的那个俺的，俺这切着要嘞，这人种了这个大过来，这些就他妈们推吧，这个那么给新人他们些人这里。的马来别上的， Lama Gavishini, Captain Sangsum Tobata Yin, Ningi Gores, Tuki the Devaji in the Chet, Lama take a Roma to the Cheaji Gores, there is a Roma to a Lama to the Kubayores. The D Ningi Devala, Niki Chiwala, Mudi Roma Materam, the Mugita Devati Jevaji, Roma take a Lama, Mugi Chiboyores, Lama take a Roma, something Kichiboyores. Those sorts of data somebody, the Najeg, you were Chakchavina, the Yuna doing Gomati, Chakchavina, the Naji, Nimboret.
So primordially, we are pure. So our body, our flesh and blood body, and our sense organs, all of this is primordially pure. But temporarily, sort of, just for a moment, we are impure. We've become dirty. And so one way to purify this is to overcome our arrogance. So again, Patrul Rinpoche has a saying from Patrul Rinpoche. There's 3 things that you shouldn't pay attention to, and so 2 of them are quite relevant here. So the first, don't pay attention to your own qualities, and second, don't pay attention to other people's faults. So, if you look, you can look at friends and companions, or couples living together, the more that you, in the context of that relationship, focus on your own qualities. I'm the one making the money, or I'm the one at home doing all the housework. That just leads to more and more arrogance about what it is that you're doing, and eventually you have a fight with your friend over what you've contributed and what they haven't. That's the fault of focusing on your own qualities. And the same thing, focusing on other people's faults, again, it leads to, arrogance. When you're focusing on your own qualities, builds your arrogance, and that leads to disharmony. Focusing on other people's faults, even a tiny little fault, every fault in someone else that you can apprehend and think about produces a sense of anger. Or frustration for you, and so that builds until you have a lot of anger, and this is it leads to disharmony and arguments and so forth. So on the flip side, if you can look at the tiniest little qualities of other people, then you can develop love, and faith. You can sort of give them the benefit of the doubt, and give a charitable interpretation, and then feel love, faith, loving kindness, and compassion. So the benefit of looking at other people's qualities leads to developing love for them. And similarly, if you can focus on your own faults, you can reflect and focus on your own faults, that destroys arrogance. So, the more that you think over your own qualities and what I've done, what I've managed, that is just building more and more arrogance. And so, and likewise, the temptation to look at the faults of others. So, when we look at the deeds of the lamas and spiritual masters of the past, when we look, for instance, Milarepa once said that the lamas and spiritual masters have all of these incredible qualities, and this is true. But what they really need is compassion. It's compassion for their disciples, and that's the quality that a lama needs. And so, related to that, disciples need to have respect for their teacher, and the word respect is actually part of the word for devotion in Tibetan. Mogu, gu, the second syllable, means respect. So we are to show respect and devotion to our teachers. And so there's this reciprocal relationship between Lama and disciple. The Lama must have loving kindness and love for the student. The student must have respect for the teacher. And this also, having respect for the teacher is actually a way of destroying our arrogance, which is the antidote to arrogance is actually the first of the 7 branches. The prostration, paying homage or prostrating, serves as an antidote to arrogance. And so it's also a mark of respect.
도차다 선생이 뭐 조바마베이나지 도차들이 다 소소들이 누가 롱중도 제보요래 예나 그렇게 야 생각만 조바 생각만 이제 봤던 거는 그렇게 생각을 저 마음 빨아서 놓당 대저야 생각에 다스나서 각적인 소만하게 그 선생이 몰라 강리들이 저랑 소남래가 탑주대 같이로 타오려야 돼 아, 조바다 제박은 레버가 다다 철토요래. 배세들은 다들 단디디 자워서 다는 참아주 빼는 면라다 버노. 그래서 레기직 참치 저거 디탈 말할 때 면라는 소용을 라답는 뭐지 단지 셔와서지로. 감성 코아나 참 세치도 저 단지 때네. 대식이 본 자롱 차다 코아는 참여래. 자공적으로 단지 메르 세티 담게 예리 상제래. 데이터와 하고는 내다다 조바 담지 데 소소 담지 같이는 무슨 조바들하고 같이 좀 대야고 지고 예도 뭐 그래서는 나기 우주 이지를 봐서는 요 세배 때 담지 아프게 오들 그래서 세배 소화가리라고 땅 아인도 뭐 나도 진짜 매대 참양 소리 그래 대다고 상황부지 도차다 센스 도차다 센네 이거 조반을 나서
So then the antidote to desire and miserliness is the branch of making offerings. So whenever we assemble our belongings and anything that we own, our wealth, our money, and so forth, to make offerings with this, things that we, sources of enjoyment, and we offer those that we are overcoming our greed or miserliness, our attachments, to make offerings. So, in other words, this becomes an antidote to our enemy, who is miserliness or greed. And so through this, we actually also gain merit because we are making an offering up. We are offering something up to our, and we're offering something up, and then we are receiving a fruit from that. So there is this merit that we receive that helps to overcome our self-grasping. So another example is in the mandala practice, Milarepa described the mandala practice as, excuse me, that we can offer our self-grasping as a mandala, this self-grasping that leads to all the sentient beings of the 3 realms of samsara wandering in samsara, that actually all sentient beings have Buddha nature, and yet they are wandering in samsara. And so, primordially, these beings are Buddhas, but it's but due to their self-grasping, they are wandering in samsara. So we can use that self-grasping and as an offering in the mandala to counteract that. And so that's why when you offer a mandala, you want to make it, or any offerings, to the best of your abilities, to the extent that that you have the resources to do so. Then you pick the best, the most beautiful, the most pleasing things to offer. And then similarly, you can imagine offering everything possible. Even, mentally, you can offer everything that I have, everything in the world. You can make an offering like that. And again, you feel that in your mind. And so really feel like I'm making an offering of everything. And that becomes an antidote to desire and greed. And so this is the branch of offering.
Shedang la suwatini pamen pekamni salunga sawa nang semdele nyumba pamen pekwanti chowa tetabela dekpa shakwa yina so the shakwa chodetri rangde Drikung Kagyu pinshike shakwa cheyate shedang la suwa pamen pekwanti nyumba chewa shakwa chey gore dekpa chung chigla shakwa chibo chilin pingu chibo yore so dekwa shakwa te.
So now as for the antidotes to hatred and so forth, that is the branch of confession, confessing wrong deeds. So this is where you have messed up with your body and speech outwardly, and then those kinds of errors are rooted in the inner, in inwardly not maintaining your conscientiousness with your mind. So whether all of the errors that you have performed with your body, speech, outwardly, or mind, inwardly, then you can confess these sins and misdeeds, and you can think, "Oh, I messed up. I didn't. What I did wasn't right," and then you can confess that. So in that way, then you lessen the sinful deeds. You confess them, any deeds rooted in afflictive emotions, and so and then through confessing, you can bring about great benefit. So that is the branch of confession.
차도지 이뭐 지세라만이나 차도의 유명한 충충적으로 하자니 봐치고 선남제베자 다 독자를 차도의 독수리에서 강리지 인용 뒤버선 초발았더니 내가 제시를 드리더라 지시랑 매봐 들은 랑이 좋아하는데 가리는 네 답이 줄로 얘기물로 이는 차도지 막수리 대시라 별 셈도 좋아지 차도 맞춰왔지는 랑 뭐가 뭐지나 들이지게 용띠 좋은 남상 신의 마가의 차용서 들 남상티 중도 천티 코존들로 온들어요 남상 중 시용서 장주 모나나 성도에 모남대시 나니 통서 비싸고도 대근에리 세나 랑치 마가 맞지래 저게 용띠 좋은 남상 신의 마고 다지 되고서 지속고래 소 남제랑 이 신제에 사찰이 시에는 시어래 니 제대로 그랑 손남들이 남도고래 지세라고요. 도둑 신지답게 다니 서다 사이나 셉지 탐티를 대화도 되나 대리 지세랑 겁나 대소문냐도 톰네 소 대문을 사고 소를 잠이 대문을 지세랑 겁니다 하자 비치고래 차도 총총 보탐제 제지로 보총총을 차도 요래 별라 저저저저 같이 와서 사대 라서 차도제 놓지 차도도 뭐지 그게 이치 보여래.
So now the antidote to jealousy is the branch of rejoicing in the merits of others. So jealousy is a really feels like a very kind of minor afflictive emotion, but it carries great negativity with it. It's a real tricky one, and so it in particular it destroys the causes of merit. It destroys our store of merit. So it's extremely negative in that it can exhaust merit that we have already performed. And so now the antidote to that is This is why jealousy is so negative, and its antidote is to rejoice in the virtuous deeds of other beings. So whether we were talking in terms of the holy Dharma or in terms of the norms of worldly, human society, jealousy is very poisonous in all cases, because the jealousy is, for instance, the experience when there's someone that you don't like, and then you hear someone praise that person, mention a good point about that person, then immediately you are unhappy, and you all, like, to your mind, rush all of the faults of that person, and you start voicing them. That's jealousy, right? So we see in the this is also mentioned in the prayer of excellent conduct, that jealousy arises when we hear about the qualities of someone that we don't like, and so jealousy in the Sakya Lekshe, the good sayings of Sakya Pandita, he says that jealousy is the destroyer of merit, and sin destroys merit, and that leads to the lower realms. So you can see the power of jealousy there, that giving into jealousy leads to rebirth in the lower realms. Similarly, when we look at all of the different beings in the 6 realms, the 6 states, some of them are our enemies, some of them are our loved ones, but all beings, we should feel equally towards all beings, that may they have happiness, and when we see them doing something good, we should rejoice in it. So this topic is also discussed very clearly in the prayer, the Pure Land prayer by Karma Chagme, the prayer to be reborn in Amitabha's Pure Land. And it talks about the importance of rejoicing in virtues. And so to the extent that we can lessen our jealousy, then we are able to rejoice. We can see the kind of insidiousness of jealousy, that it's very natural even for children, that we see children, you give something to one child and immediately the other child says, you didn't give it to me. That's jealousy. So it's very important that we are able to recognize it. So now the antidote to stupidity is the turning or supplicating that the wheel of the Dharma be turned. So now what is stupidity? Well, ultimately, stupidity is what leads to, our births in samsara. It's because stupidity about what? Ignorance or not knowing about karma and cause and effect means that we go through life like without eyes. And so in that sense, when you have ignorance of karma and cause and effect, then our behavior is we're even worse off than animals in many cases. So what do we need? The antidote to this is the Dharma, is to understand the Dharma. And what does Dharma mean? It means karma and cause and effect. We have to know about the cause and effects of actions.
대통령이 뭐지 대통령 가려야지 어떤 상제지바 요나 메나 추지바 요로메 데이나 메디나상 대통령이 뭐라더니 냥이는 나와지 상제 냥인다지 요 말에 대통령이 뭐라 냥이는 나와죠 뭐당 게다 단디기 뭐 호이나서 이나도 맞대 하장 가르치고 게다 가려들 뒤동다 너희들 하고도 전화들이 게다 가려들 말들이
So now we get the antidote to doubt. And so what is doubt? Doubt is the thought of, is there really a Buddha or not? Is there really is there really the Dharma or not? Is it true or is it not true? So the antidote to this is supplicating the Buddha not to pass into nirvana. And so that becomes, supplicating the Buddha not to pass into nirvana becomes the antidote to doubts. And then finally, we have the antidote to self-grasping, self-grasping arising from virtuous deeds. So you perform a virtuous deed and then it causes self-grasping, leads to self-grasping. The antidote to that, is dedication. So these are the 7 branches of the 7-branch prayer. And whatever virtuous deed you are engaged in, it's very important to know how to apply these 7 to any virtuous deed that you engage in. Because if you can do that, then that virtuous deed becomes a cause for the accumulation of merit.
Mati Pama Teacher Check Shipa Yamba Mepa Kong Le Kong the Pewa Shu I was Sanga Tensu